What's that line in that movie about the gangster? Say hello to my little friend? Well, you just met him, and he represents what I feel like when it's been too long since I've been out on Spyder for a ride. So, welcome, all you trikers, bikers, cagers, and dreamers. We all have to have a dream. And today's dream is going to take me down on US Route 70 towards Kingston out of Lenore City. It's kind of a pretty drive. Some of it is a little bit more technical as we get closer to Kingston, but most of it is pretty ordinary, run-of-the-mill country road driving. That was an interesting looking church. It looked more like a barn. Well, anyway, who is to say? I'm sure there's people of good faith there. As you can see, the trees are still pretty bare, but since this recording was made, we've started to get a lot of buds on our trees. The flowering trees are starting to show their color, which is so beautiful in the springtime here. Oh, on the left there, that's Wamplers. It's a favorite brand of sausage down here, and every good Southerner loves good sausage. I'm a kind of a transplant, but I like Wampler sausage also. And as you can see, this is not a heavily traveled road, at least at this time of day. I probably hit it just about right. That's always nice, not to have to deal with a lot of heavy traffic. I skipped past a section of the video when I got behind a Fiat 500, one of those cute little cars. This particular one was going kind of slow. I mean, I'm not a fast rider, but this guy was like really slow. I don't know whether he was looking for something or whether just naturally slow. Now we're coming into a little more of the twisty part of the road. Not severe twists and turns, but enough to be a lot of fun. A straight road, an interstate, anything like that, that's not fun riding, is it? It may help you from getting from here to there, but it sure doesn't add much to the excitement. Plus you're riding down the road with all those semis and diesel exhaust and the chance of getting caught behind a semi that blows a tire. Hey, that did happen to me once back in, I think it was 1973. I was riding on my BMW and I was on my way up to Wisconsin. I was going through Chicago on one of the interstates. It might have been I-94, not sure. And there was a 10-wheel dump truck ahead of me. And all of a sudden, the truck started making some really funny noises. And all of a sudden, there was this whoomp. And the tire split and threw off the truck and right into my path. And I did a quick dodge, but I was just thinking if I had been a little closer, or if that thing hadn't flown quite the way it did, it could have put me down easily. That's no fun. That could totally have ruined my trip. You know, I was peacefully heading up to Door County in Wisconsin, spent some time with my sister and brother-in-law and their children. I hadn't been to Door County before, and anybody who knows Wisconsin and knows the thumb of Wisconsin will certainly know Door County. Absolutely beautiful place to retire. I remember we stayed in Sister Bay, but there's up at the tip of the island, there's a little ferry that takes you across to Washington Island, which was a pretty touristy place and an enjoyable afternoon. And plus up there, they have these tremendous whitefish boils. Man, I'm not a major fish eater, but I gotta tell you, this was about the most delicious, freshly caught fish I had ever eaten. It comes in maybe second place to something I caught down in Florida earlier. I guess it was last December. But anyway, fishing, we're not here to talk about fishing really. We're just here to enjoy ourselves and ride along and enjoy these twists and turns and look at this beautiful world that we have. Bikers, yay. All right. It's that kind of day, and people are kind of like me, they've been missing their rides. They probably have that same sensation of feeling that little green-eyed, hairy monster coming out and saying, "Get out there and ride, boy. You haven't been out in a long time, and today's got to be the day. So get out and do it." And that's what I'm doing. Anyway, back to Door County in Wisconsin. I rode up there from Milwaukee, which was where my sister and brother-in-law and family were living at the time, and they decided that I really need to discover Door County for myself. And I remember on the way up, I rode through a little flash shower. It was not terrible. I mean, I didn't get soaked or anything. I don't think I even stopped to put on my rain gear. But I got through that, and I remember when I arrived in Ephraim, one of the little towns there, I was just thinking, boy, oh boy, a nice platter of fish and fries and cold beer to wash it down would be really great. Well, hey, guess what? The waitress looked shocked when I mentioned the cold beer. And she looked at me and she said, "I'm sorry, but Ephraim is a dry town." I could think this was probably not going to be my favorite meal. But I am very glad that the perch that she served was really delicious. Really, really good fish. Probably had to settle for a Coke or an iced tea or something like that, but I have to tell you, that cold beer would have just been essence for making that a perfect meal. I used to ride a lot of long distance rides, like from my home in New York over to Connecticut to visit my mother's family. And I was bravely setting out, once again, this is 1973, to go to Sturgis. And this was before Sturgis is what Sturgis is today. I mean, I know the Jack Pine Gypsies out there, they established this, I think, way back in the late 40s, after most of these people were fresh out of the service from World War II. And Pappy J.C. Hoel, I never was absolutely sure how he pronounced that, H-O-E-L, was kind of the founder of the feast, so to speak. And he had something posted about if anybody has questions, write me a letter. So I did. Well, lo and behold, Pappy wrote me back and said, "You're really coming from a long way. Why don't you stay at my house with some very special guests?" Well, because I had a bit of a breakdown in my BMW in Ohio and had to sit out a couple of days waiting for a place to get the bike serviced would open, happened this weekend, you see. By the time I finally got the bike going, and it turned out I basically fixed it myself with some compressed air behind the front cover. Apparently on the commutator ring, some shellac looking stuff, I guess some kind of insulator, had gotten hot and it was brittle, so it flew off and it got between the commutator and the brushes and gave me a warning light on the dash, a red light. I thought to myself, oh, this can't be good. As it turned out, it was virtually nothing. If I had opened it up and just kind of blown it out a little bit, maybe just with my breath, I probably would have been back on the road again. But by the time I was ready to roll, for heaven's sakes, I would have arrived in South Dakota just in time for the event to end. That's how I wound up going to Wisconsin instead of South Dakota. That was my first of 2 aborted attempts to get there. I don't know if I ever will get there. I'm so bloody old now, I don't believe I could stand to ride that far unless I trailered. And what the heck is the fun of going to an event where you have to trailer the thing you're going to be riding? I know some people do it. I just don't think that's really quite what I would want to do. Looks like the road's kind of straightened out again. We're getting fairly close to Kingston. It's a beautiful little town. We don't really go through it on this video, but it's located on a lake. There's some beautiful homes there. Nice quiet community. I've always been kind of attracted to it. Plus they got a pretty good shooting range there. when it's too cold outside or too wet, miserable, whatever, you don't want to go to an outdoor range, which is probably my preference. It's a really good range. The rates are reasonable and they're very safety conscious. All good things. Yes, I do like to target shoot. Yes, I do believe in the Second Amendment, but not literally the way it's written. It probably could stand a little bit of revision. After all, it was written in the 18th century. I don't think our founding fathers had any idea what an AR-15 and a high-capacity magazine could possibly do in the hands of the wrong person. I don't think there's very many people that belong to a well-regulated militia either. That's just my opinion. People are free to agree or disagree. I do believe that a person has the right to own a gun. I do believe in gun safety. And at my daughter's insistence, that's what I'm trying to say, I have put my guns in a safe. And I realize it'll be a long time before my granddaughter will be curious about such things or even be able to get a hold of something that I might have in my house. But she was very pleased to hear that. I try to be a good granddad as much as I can. Getting a little more to where it's looking like the outskirts of Kingston. I haven't heard it from anybody yet to hear where you're from and where you like to ride. I'm always interested to hear things like that. I think those of us that motovlog and those of us who follow motovloggers probably are a curious and interesting community. Probably like to know a little bit more about who's following our vlogs and well, make it more interesting for everybody by sharing a little bit of information about yourself. I shared quite a bit in the last video, maybe too much, I don't know. Who knows? I like to not think of myself as particularly being a motor mouth, but maybe I can be sometimes. Now we are coming truly into Kingston, and I have to stop and get some gas, some go juice. Well, actually I have quite a bit left in the tank, but the real reason that I'm stopping is I got a whiz like nobody's business, and I don't feel right about going in and using the facilities without buying something. If the tank were completely full, I'd probably buy a candy bar or some gum. So I'm signing off now. Ride safe, all you guys and gals out there. Enjoy your day. Drop a line if you feel like you want to. Keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up. And by all means, deuces everybody.